Assassin's Promise by Thomas Woodward, Chapter 37. A hardened man pulled Kayana's head back by her braid. Another bandit held her arms behind her back tightly. She had killed 2 of their number before they had wrestled her down. Softly running a greasy hand down her neck, he spoke. "What should we do with you? You've killed 2 of our band. Now that's something we can't just forgive so easily." Kayana pressed with all her might against her captor and almost broke an arm free before the other man soundly kneed her in the gut. Breath exploded out of her lungs, and she gagged before catching her breath again. Pain coursed through her middle in sharp stabbing points where he had hit her. Another 2 riders were climbing up on the caravan. A full half-dozen still followed behind on horseback. The bandit looked back for a moment at the others, who were following closely. Their numbers had dwindled in the last year and a half, but they were still almost 20 strong. Only 2/3 of them could sit the saddle, but it would be more than enough to overcome a merchant caravan foolish enough to travel out in the open, thinking they could skimp on a full set of armed guards. Oh, it was a great joke. These filthy merchants thought themselves so much better than them. Well, they would show these bastards a thing or two. The woman struggled again weakly, so he raised his hand, which was enough to silence her. She was wise enough to know when to stay still, he gathered. As 2 other men from his crew pulled up alongside him, Ranald directed them forwards to secure the rest of the caravan. A wounded guardsman was kneeling ahead, clutching his chest. The 2 men who moved forwards eyed the man warily, slowly readying their weapons. Their weapons of choice were hooked blades, which swung on a long chain. They began slowly spinning the weapons as they approached, apprehensive of the other man. They moved from both sides, cutting off any avenue of support for the guardsmen. Ranald looked on with disdain. They were being overly careful. The wretch could barely hold a weapon. He wasn't even able to stand. He wished they would hurry up about the affair so they could get on with unseating the driver. Ranald had been crew leader long enough to know that you had to get the dirty work done first before any of the fun could begin. They would take quite a bit of booty on this haul if his estimations were right. He was a simple man, but he knew the weaknesses of his crew members. This, more than anything else, secured his place as crew leader. None of them dared challenge him for control of the crew. They knew he would turn the others against them in quick order. Ranald was a ruthless man, but he saw himself as a good leader, not a tyrant. He knew what he gave them was better than the anarchy and confusion. Without a strong hand taking the reins, they might easily starve or be hunted down by the nearest local town militia. No, he would keep them fed. That's what counted in times like these. Absent-mindedly, he backhanded the woman full in the face. She grunted in response. Oh, he hadn't heard anything. But he just as easily guessed she would still have escape on the mind. You got a feel for these kinds of things after a while. He set another 2 men watching her, and moved forward behind the rest of his men. A good crew leader never took unnecessary risks. Why, that would be downright foolish. He chuckled to himself, making sure to stay out of reach of the wounded guard. There would be no honor in what was done here today. Any full-brained commoner could see that. It was his job to make sure there was no one left to tell the tale afterwards. He smiled to himself at the thought. The fewer witnesses, the better, in his opinion. He could worry about doing what was right in the future, when starving was no longer a ready alternative.